The good old auto versus manual, one of the oldest topics in the game for many years. So today's video will be talking about the pros and cons between both of them and which one you want to do in certain scenarios, the ups of it and the downs of it for the most part. So we'll be starting off with auto first since everyone loves auto. The pros of autos are very, very simple. It is very convenient. I think conveniency alone will make auto just 10 times, 50 times, 100 times better than manual in all aspects. This game is very grindy. It takes many, many months to even years to get your account up to par. In order to get that far into the game, you have to grind. And some of the biggest aspects of this game is doing a lot of farming for maps that you may need to do like 10, 100, thousands of times. So conveniency is very important to the point where nowadays people auto even boss fights that are supposed to be hard, and they want to encourage, or the developers want to encourage manual combat, but we still auto it regardless, right? Like meta 15s, arbiters, people still auto these even though they're meant for quote unquote manual difficult content. Conveniency alone carries auto super super hard. So this is the biggest pro when it comes to auto, is just conveniency. The second is higher uptime on airstrikes and volleys. So if you guys don't know, in the bottom right corner, you guys can see in combat, you'll see like you'll see all your airstrikes timings or in the volleys and stuff in combat. Usually what this means is you're going to have to use those to do maximum damage when it comes to combat or whatever, right? So when that happens, usually, if you're playing on manual, it becomes a little bit slower because you're probably unaware or you got to adjust where you aim and stuff like that. But when you're playing on auto, what this does is it immediately uses your moves right off the bat. So what this does is it keeps a higher uptime on your skill. It may be less accurate, but it's going to keep a higher uptime on your skills. The third reason is that accuracy is very important for volleying. If you guys don't know, when you're using battleships, you're gonna have to aim right in front of you. This is one of the aspects I kind of don't like about using battleships on manual, is that you have to aim somewhere. If your battleships or like if your vanguards are like right here, your battleships aim like right here, right? So you have to move horizontally to get the most out of aiming for those bosses or those targets or whatever. But when you're on auto, it doesn't matter if your vanguard is here, 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 or like over here. It will always auto aim to the boss, meaning you're gonna have higher uptime because you have to travel less because you don't have to stand in front of the boss or target. Your battleships just go right away, and it will always aim for the boss. So this makes aiming a lot more accurate compared to just manual. Let me just walk in front of the boss or target and use my manual volleys, right? So those are the pros for autos. As for cons, you can't really control vanguard movements and their torpedo bursts. So that's very difficult when it comes to auto gameplay. One of the biggest aspects I do, like on my video channel, is I do a lot of boss runs on auto nowadays because it got to the point in the game where you can pretty much do this on like every single boss fight or almost all of them. And a lot of times I have to reset. Well, obviously because like I'm not getting lucky crits or hell in the scans, stuff like that. But the one other big reason as to why I reset a lot is because vanguard movement is just really bad. Sometimes the movement is like all the way over here when I don't want it to be over here, or it's down here, or it's like somewhere here, and it's just eating all this free damage that I can't control on my vanguards. And that's the one of the biggest downsides to playing on auto, is that you can't control how they move. They'll always use their torpedoes right off the bat. They'll probably walk into lasers and stuff like that. It's really difficult to control how your vanguards move when you're always in auto. And the second reason is it is more difficult to time your burst. So if you guys don't already know, I made that video about 2 weeks ago in regards to Helena being one of those factors that some people play around of end game. They want to sync their timings of bursts for Helena scan and stuff like that. This makes it difficult because again, your ships fire right away, right? So unless you properly plan your setups, like your builds or whatever, to be according to Helena scans, then it's difficult to work with. So let's say like you're gonna use the 457, right? You can't really maximize that on auto because it fires right away, and that doesn't work with Helena. So you have to either wait, which you can't on auto, or you do less damage overall because you can't wait for Helena scans and you just go right away. So those are the biggest reasons as to why auto is not like quote unquote the best, because you can't really control those things. Now, when it comes to manual gameplay, there are quite a bit of pros when it comes to manual gameplay. One of the biggest one is you get a 20% damage increase when you use battleship volleys. So if you guys don't already know, like once again, I'll go ahead and maybe show you guys a quick fight real quick where you kind of want to aim with battleships to get maximum damage. So I think I'm using like a really bad battleship gun right now. Actually, I'm using probably something really bad right now. Yeah, this is actually okay. This is a terrible boss fight for this example, but I'll do like a little quick little example. But I'm not going to finish this fight though. But if you guys don't already know, you get a 20% damage increase when you aim your volleys. So what I mean by this is like it's like this. So I'm gonna stall out this fight a little bit, even though I can like, well, not really, it's like one shot it, but not with this ammo typing on my battleship at least. But when you guys see like my bar fill up, once I get rid of this stuff off my screen, it's laggy as well too because I just woke up in the morning. I didn't reset stuff. You see your crosshair right here? Now, when this is on the boss or target and you let go, you get a 20% damage increase if you manually aim it. On auto, that doesn't happen because it's on auto, right? You can't really manually aim that, so you don't get a bonus damage increase from that on battleships. So that's one thing. There's also Vanguard movement. Vanguard movement is like this. If the boss does something dumb, like it starts firing like these blue projectiles, if you manually move, you can dodge those things. And it shouldn't be as difficult because you're not taking extra damage, right? So that's one of the best parts about it. And along with it is the third reason is more gear variety. So a lot of people stack washing machines on these bosses, right? Or just gameplay overall. If you guys play manual, you don't really have to use washing machines if you're dodging. So that's one of the big things about auto versus manual is that if you're not autoing, you really don't need the evasion if you're dodging projectiles, right? Obviously, there are a couple of things in the game that will always guarantee the hit, no matter where you are, or like the spray pattern is just that bad to the point where you have to use you're going to take a hit regardless. But there's also going to be those like big lasers and big rockets coming at you that you can easily dodge if you just walk out of the way, right? So if you have these kind of danger avoidable by just simply moving out of the way, this opens up more variety in terms of how you build your characters. So for example, if I were to talk about my vanguards right here, let's say for example Kronstadt, I have the washing machine, right? I don't really need this. If I'm dodging manually, I can use like a Fumo 25 or something, right? I don't really need the evasion or the HP because I just dodge out of the way. I can just get more damage, right? Simple. And lastly, there's also more burst control. So again, if you're playing the game around Helena, you're going to have those 20-second intervals where she may scan or she may not scan, right? So if you're playing to the point where you're using like 457s or like maybe slower guns, maybe faster guns even, probably faster guns, you can hold your volleys to get in timing with Helena. This makes it so you're not wasting your maximum damage output because you're on auto and it doesn't fire right away. So that's one of the really good reasons as to why auto, manual is really good, is that you can control your burst timing. So if I want to fire like, let's say your volleys are ready at 17 seconds, Helena scans at 20 seconds, you don't have to fire right away. You can just hold on to it for another 30 seconds. Or 3 seconds, not 30, I said 30. 30 seconds and you're good to go, right? So your airstrikes, your torpedoes, your volleys, all those can be held onto because you have control of the bottom right corner of that stuff. And the cons of manual are it's very inconvenient. I think this is the reason why almost no one plays manual. It is very, very inconvenient. Doesn't matter if it's end game, early game, mid game. It doesn't matter because we're lazy. Most of us are very, very lazy. If you play this game long enough, like I have, then you're gonna be very, very lazy to play manual almost ever. You pretty much only play manual on like very difficult content, like World 14 when you first go into it, or EX fights nowadays because they boost the health of the boss, so you have to do 2 rotations most of the time. It is very, very inconvenient. So that easily is like that easily alone overrides like most of the pros for manual gameplay. It's very inconvenient. So yeah, that's all I have for it. It's very, very inconvenient. The second is usually lower airstrike timings and volleys. So again, I showed you guys in the previous or one of those previous clips, right, where you have to be in front of the boss or whatever in order to maximize your damage. So if you're not paying attention to the bottom right corner, you're holding on to your damage or whatever, you're kind of gonna miss out. Now, airstrikes are easier because you can hold 2 airstrikes most of the time. Like most carriers go up to like 2, so you have like 6 up to max. But battleships, the moment it's capped out, the timer isn't running anymore for a second volley. You have to use it right away. So unless you're gonna hold for a Hell Nest burst, you're wasting damage uptime, and that's very, very bad. So torpedoes kind of work the same way. You can sometimes hold 1, sometimes hold 2, but volleys are definitely the biggest downside when it comes to auto or manual because you can only hold 1, and if you don't use it right away, you have bad uptime. Airstrikes you can hold more, but battleships though have it bad because they have to fire it right away. You don't have to, but you should to maximize uptime. Assuming you're not doing like a 90, 80-second boss fight content, you kind of want to maximize it. So those are the biggest reasons as to the pros and cons of autos and manual. I believe even after this video, a lot of us, including me, are still going to play on auto, and that's just facts. But it's nice to give perspective into both styles of gameplay, manual or auto, because it opens up more variety in how people see the game. And I want to give information to newer players on why some of us auto most of the time, or in those rare occasions why some of us manual, but for the most part we auto. Give you guys a little perspective on that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching as always. I'm freezing my butts off, and I'll see you guys next video.